Welcome back to the Morning Show here on Arise News. I'm Biola Labi.
And I'm Tundra Biola.
The 2019 presidential election is over, and having been declared the winner by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, President Muhammad Buhari is preparing for a second term in office, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Such circumstances could come in the event of a legal victory for his opponent, Atiku Abubakar, who is presently challenging the outcome of the election before a tribunal. We are now being joined by two gentlemen who shall be looking at the possible political and economic outlook of the nation under a Buhari second term against the backdrop of how Nigeria fared in the past 4 years. Senator Adeseye Ogunlewe, a national leader of the People's Democratic Party, played a key role in the evolution of the 7th National Assembly under the administration of President Obasanjo and was also a Minister of Works and Housing, while Rasaq Muse is a chieftain in the ruling party, All Progressive Congress, and a close ally of President Muhammad Buhari. You're both welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I want to start with you, Mr. Rasaq Muse, as a personal confidant of the president and someone that has known the president for a very long time. The president has a second mandate. A lot of people have complained about the mandate not being as strong as his first mandate. One of the things that people feel that he must do right away is unify the country after such a contentious election, an apathetic electorate. As someone that knows the president, what do you say to people that have accused him of tribalism, being part of this rhetoric around ethno-religious, or his silence on these issues? What do you say to the critics, and how do you think he can unify a wounded country as we are today?
Thank you very much. I think I will start by laying the foundation as to who President Muhammad Buhari is. You recollect that when he first came to power with General Tunde Diagbon, they had a mission because the country was going adrift then to put right so many things, in particular corruption and indiscipline in the society. Now that regime was abruptly terminated. Then, of course, President Buhari, being a Democrat, he decided that he will contest to become a democratically elected president of Nigeria. He tried and succeeded after the 4th attempt. I think that success is pregnant with meaning. And I've always said to people that he is a messiah the country needs. Why? Because for him to succeed in winning after the 4th attempt, and the fact that I can be proved wrong, but it needs to be proved wrong, I think he's the only person that has what it takes to fight corruption head-on in this country. And why? Because he's accountable, he's transparent, and he's a very highly contented leader. Because the problem we've been having in this country is that we have some, but a lot are not contented. And consequently, you find that the masses are the loser. Now, having said that, corruption, like the president always said, if we don't kill it, it will kill Nigeria. Because corruption is responsible for virtually why we are not making progress in this country. I can continue to talk on that till tomorrow. Maybe give you a little example. Why have we had power not working? Why our roads are in very dilapidated condition over the years? Reason, because there's compromise along the line, and there's diversion of funds. And of course, our society celebrates affluence, and there's no more values in society because we appreciate people who all of a sudden become rich rather than questioning the source of income. So I think the first time of President Buhari, he has used it to lay a foundation by introducing so many measures, be it in the civil service, be it in infrastructure, and now it's about laying blocks on the solid foundation has laid for the first time. And then, of course, the edifices will soon emerge. Yes, a lot of people criticize him, they accuse him of being tribalistic and all that. But I can tell you that he's not, because a lot of his domestic staff, be it driver, be it cooks, they are Christians. You know, and he attends Christian organizations. Then, of course, people also criticize him that, you know, he's not spreading the appointments. But I think basically, when you get to a position, I think the first people that you can really rely on are the people you can trust to make you succeed. Then after, you can now start spreading out to other people who are also from other religion or ethnic background. So in a nutshell, I think the second term of the president will see an improvement, tremendous improvement in infrastructure, tremendous improvement in anti-graft, corruption, and Nigeria will stand to benefit for it. I know for sure that the president is committed to a prosperous Nigeria. And
unity? And uniting the country?
Well, yes. You see, people have also spoken about that. That's why, you remember, he said after his victory that he's going to run an inclusive government, and so let us see how that goes. And then another thing, too, which is also very important that we must bear in mind, especially when you look at the various geographical zones. Politically, some zones put all their eggs in one basket. And in politics, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because at the end of the day, it's democracy, it's the number. So if a particular or some group of zones decide that come rain, come shine, they don't want to touch APC, they don't want to touch Buhari, then they cannot expect at the end of the day to be given priority in the rewards of the election victory. So to me, I think it is very, very important for us to consider that yes, you run inclusive government, at the same time politically, you cannot leave out those that brought about your success in the victory. Those who worked hard for you to win. And of course, across all the zones, you leave them out to go and start, so you will run an inclusive government, definitely. And I believe, honestly, that it has a Mosaic intention, a mission for Nigeria.
Well, intentions and missions are very well and good, but what we are interested in, the Nigerian public, is results. So before I ask my question to Senator Ogunlewe, I want to ask you a few. Can you name some of those zones that you just referred to that are left out or do not support APC and therefore should not expect to reap the rewards of electoral victory? Because taking a national perspective, that I don't think is the appropriate view or stance to take.
I didn't say they wouldn't. If you remember, I said it's going to run an inclusive government. But at the same time, I'm saying, that politically, when there's an election, everybody contests, and you have people who are so much involved, who contributed so much to the victory, and those should be priority, in terms of whatever it is the administration is putting in place. I'm not saying, let's take for example, I think the last time I was here, we spoke on, the issue of the Southeast. Now, I mean, they deserve to be president. That zone deserves to produce the president. But if it's going to be democratically done, then they have to belong to the winning party or win the election to be able to do that. And to win the election, you have to be involved in the party that you want to aspire on the platform to become the president. But if 98% of the votes, goes to APC, for example, sorry, to PDP, and you have only 2% for APC, then definitely it won't sound possible for that party to now say, I want to make you the president, or I want to make you the vice president. I also analyzed then that, that zone also, they are very strong in PDP, and the opportunity was there when President Obasanjo was about to leave. And I expected that they should have put their foot down to emerge as the vice presidential candidate to Yar'Adua. That would have given an opportunity because they are committed PDP and they have contributed a lot to PDP victory. But along the line, the ex-president Jonathan was picked. And that, to me, politically, strategically, is a minus. Because if they had been chosen as the vice presidential candidate, then they would have had the opportunity with the ruling party then to achieve an Igbo person, Southeast person as the president. So now they need to also now start laying that foundation by joining the ruling party, so that all their eggs are not put in one basket. So that at the end of the day, they will emerge as the candidate of the ruling party, maybe at the next election.
But in your response to Biola's question, you also cited the fact that President Buhari has Christian domestic staff. So the issue has never really been that he's so anti-Christian or he hates Christians. But from your answer as a close confidant and friend of his, you have said that he finds Christians fit to serve. But does he find them fit to lead? Christians and people from other, demographics.
President Buhari is not stopping anybody from leading. I've just analyzed to you.
But of all the examples you could have given, you said he has Christian domestic staff. That in itself is quite revealing.
Yeah, because the picture being painted, is... let me give you an example. Before the 2015 election, we did a lot to let the voting masses to know that President Buhari will be a Democrat, and in fact, many people felt, no, he's not going to because he's been a military head of state and all that. And to ensure that they are proved wrong, he has tried as much as possible to go along what I would say democratic approach to so many things, which is some of his critics, including former President Obasanjo, did worse. We've had instances where a whole town was leveled because a soldier was killed. We've had instances where 3 people out of the House of Assembly members impeached the governor, and heaven did not fall. President Buhari has not done any of this. I'm not saying it's perfect, because there's no perfect human being. But I believe that sincerely, it means well for this country, and a lot of wrong impression has been created.
Okay. I think I'm going to pick up on the fact that he's not perfect and come to you, Senator. One of the things that Mr. Muse pointed out was actually around transparency of president. As someone that is in the opposition party, I would like you to comment on transparency, and I want to pick up from yesterday. Yesterday, PDP accused the president of not doing a proper handover as he's away. This, once again, there's no understanding of where the president is, if the president is on holiday, what's going on. These type of, and once again, also Mr. Muse pointed out that this president's record on rule of law, which actually from a global perspective there has been highly criticized. And then also when you look at the current Atiku tribunal and what we said, lack of access to results. As someone in the opposition party, what is your report card on this president, especially around the issue of transparency and rule of law?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely, you can hardly fault President Buhari on the issue of transparency by himself. The idea of obeying the rule of law by himself. But he is not alone in the process of governing this country. If you know how the presidential system works, it's not a one-man show. He has advisors, formal and informal. He has caucuses. He has interest groups that will be giving him information or misinformation on issues. But it's left for him to take appropriate decision. But definitely, we should advise him more than criticize him now, because he's not coming for another election. If he wins at the tribunal, it means he has 4 years to go. What do we expect him to do in these 4 years? Because people that are criticizing and making noise, they are less than 1% of the masses that are not enjoying government. The masses that are really, underdeveloped in terms of education, and it is not his fault. The fault in Nigerian system is the structure. Even if you bring whoever from heaven to come and govern Nigeria, with the present constitution, there is nothing what anybody can do. Nigeria will run into poverty the more. And we have to be lucky not to be a country that will be in extinction. Why? We spend 70% of our national income on less than 1% population, on the current expenditure. So we have 30% for development. How do you cope with that? We have a structure that has eliminated local government administration totally. We have 300,000 kilometers of roads in Nigeria, 33,000 under federal, 100,000 under state. The majority of the roads are in the rural area, under local government administration. But our constitution does not allow total independence for local government to be able to work. So in terms of primary health care, in terms of rural roads, in terms of agriculture, local government takes predominance. But under our constitution, they are not independent. So it is a problem of the structure. It is not an individual problem. No matter what the man intends to do, it will never work. Abasojo tried it, Yar'Adua tried it. We are just wasting time of this country. Let somebody tell me how this country is going to move on. We spend trillions of naira on oil subsidy. And this oil subsidy goes to only very few people, where the majority are suffering. What must we do? Majority cannot eat in the morning. It's not a political matter. It's not a party matter. That is what is prevailing in the country. So what must all of us do? My own take is simple. Let us have a social security law that will enable every Nigerian to have access to our wealth. If you are an unemployed person, you must earn a living so that you won't go to kidnapping. You won't go into, banditry. Nigerians have been left out of governance by our constitution, by what we do to at least make sure that people at the higher level confiscate all our wealth to the detriment of the masses. And it's a problem of our constitution. Unless we have made that constitution, unless we know we do what is right, there is no hope for the country. Absolutely no hope. Call another person who can tell us Nigeria is not a rich country. If you divide all our revenue with our population, we are negative. And any indices of poverty in the world, we are last. So what is our pride? We have no pride in this world at all.
But a constitution is not some kind of mystical force. It is an instrument, a law, which was created and can be amended, and that can be done by leadership. So the buck does stop with individuals.
Let us tell them to change it. If we criticize them, the more it doesn't work. You have said us as Section 35, every minerals on top, below, belongs to the federal government. So the gold in Zamfara, which could have benefited people from Zamfara, is a federal government property. The bitumen in Ondo State, which have benefited the people there, is a property of the federal government. And people at the federal level will make sure that they exploit those wealth for their own benefit. Where does Nigeria come in?
So what is the role of the leadership that is sent to the National Assembly?
Somebody must understand
we have to hold
this.
leadership accountable.
And even the president.
Somebody must. The president will understand it, but to actualize it now, it will meet so many obstacles because people are benefiting.
Who are the people benefiting?
The people at the top. Who are the people mining the gold in Zamfara? That they have lost so many people. This is not the extra general. Don't you see the newspaper? They have been exploiting this gold for so long, and it's bringing more money than oil.
So how do we get beyond this point
Yes.
that Mr. Muse was making about President Buhari, his messianic personality, as you would describe it, which a lot of people have always believed and still believe. So we have to accept the fact that his personality as one individual is actually beside the point. They're the people he's surrounded by. They're the vested interests. How do we move beyond this so that the next 4 years we can be singing a different tune?
There is no hope.
For the next 4 years?
Yes.
None.
As long as we retain this structure. Because the man, he has good intention. But, okay, Shamisi, that is the emir of Kano. Mention statistics of things that are inhibiting the growth of the North. The next stage was to say that they are going to remove him. There is an understanding that an average Nigerian should have 4 children. In some part of the country, we have 40. Our population is growing more than our wealth. Is that Buhari? That is nothing the man can do. Once you are indisciplined in multiplication of your population to the detriment of your growth, there is no magic. We must sit down as a country and know where we are going. You cannot marry more than 1 or 2 wives. You cannot produce more than 4 children. It is irresponsible of you to produce 50 and you're happy. It's going to impact on the development of that country. It's not you. But nobody cares in Nigeria. So we have over 10 million children out of school. What can we have to do?
Almost 14 million.
Yes, out of school. That is the population of some countries. How do we address that? And you say there will be banditry. What are they going to be? Are they going to be eating? How can they survive?
Okay.
And it is not peculiar to the North. All over the states now, okay, 1.5 million will sit for JAM. All our universities have space for 500,000. So we are losing 1 million to the market every year. What are they going to do?
I think that's the question, and that's what this conversation needs to be about. And at the end of the day, if we say that, if we absolve the president of any responsibility, it almost feels that what was the point of electing him and what is his mandate? You're saying that he's only one person, there's nothing he can do. Actually, there's quite a lot that leadership can do and the body language of leadership. Today, one of the biggest criticisms of this president is that he is not friendly to business. A lot of people say that is a real criticism, and that is preventing investors. Part of what you need is people to come in and invest in the country. How can he change that? Is he willing to change that? What is the president going to do to attract new businesses into the country? Please.
Yeah, you see, I want to go along with Senator Blair. I think the situation is bad, but it's not hopeless. And,
but Senator has said that there's no hope.
No, I'm saying I've gone halfway with him, halfway against him. Okay. A situation is redeemable. Now, what is it? What is the major cause of the problem we have in our society? Poverty and illiteracy, lack of education. Now, how do we get ourselves out of those two major? Because it's poverty that is breathing. In fact, unemployment, basically, And so if you want to really solve the problem, which I think is what the President Buhari is trying to do, or he's laid the foundation, there are two major things that if focused on in this country, will move ahead. One is power supply. If we get it right with power supply, one, it will improve productivity. Improve productivity means improve wealth. Of course, improve wealth means that people will live, not just survive. Now, if that is done, there's a lot of young people who are out who can't find a job and who are very enterprising and they want to do certain things, but they are constrained because they lack the resources to take off. You want to take off, you have to start thinking of generator. You want to take off, you have to start thinking of higher rent. The same person who is criticizing the country probably is a landlord, is a Charlotte landlord, who is frustrating a young man that is trying to set up a small enterprises because all his concern is how much money do I make, rather than, hey, is it fair? So if we're able to, and of course, to be able to solve the power problem, you are going to confront corruption. What I mean is that, hey, you are going to people selling generators that are the first people that are going to make sure that power does not work. So there's need for legislation, serious one, with the will to implement. Now, we go back to some of the measures mentioned earlier. We're not running a dictatorial government, so any change to the constitution has to be democratically processed. So are the people there now, either the 8th Assembly or the 9th Assembly, are they ready to make sacrifice? Most of them, I think, no. Rather, they want more. Now, if that is the situation, like I suggested in my recent interview, that to me, the major priority in this restructuring is security of life and property. That's the most. All of that issues being clamor, probably most of them are for selfish interests. Because when you have restructuring, you now have federation units, they have more powers, more resources, then there's more grab. I mean, let's take, for example, the 13% derivation being paid to the all-prison state. Can anyone see the quantum of achievement with that? No. Poverty level is still low. Despite, so if you now increase that 13% maybe to 50%, and you still have this, loss of value and in society, greed in society by leaders, which is going nowhere. That's the point I think is trying to make. So if we are going to change the status quo, then we have to change the mindset of the people we have elected there. I suggested, for example, that the governors have security votes, a lot of money for security votes. I asked myself, who is supposed to provide security? Police. And these same police are ill-equipped. Now, what stops, I even suggest that to my party, what stops us from laying an example that, okay, APC governors, let us set the ball rolling. The security vote I'm having as a governor, I'm going to, 50% of it will go to state policing, local government policing, so that there will be improvements in the security of the people. But most people don't want that. Then when you look at production, a lot of manpower has been lost because of bad roads. A lot of manpower has been lost, trying to fuel your car and paying so much money to fuel your car. And a lot of industries are falling off because, one, which I think is an aspect that concerns us all, because this change we are talking about is for everybody. Right from this office, we need to examine ourselves, what am I doing that is wrong? What am I doing that is too self-centered? that is the treatment of other Nigerians, then you take remedial measure. So we need a change right from individuals, not one man, Buhari. Because like you said, one man is there, but if you are surrounded by people who don't want that change, you get nowhere.
There is that, but then the privilege and the powers that the Nigerian president enjoys, even under that flawed document, the 1999 Constitution, are gargantuan. It is not enough to say or to suggest that, oh, it's not his fault, his hands are tied. Not at all. How can President Buhari in particular, because I don't think we have another living Nigerian who enjoys the kind of cult-like reverence that he does. In a lot of quarters, all over the country, it's not a northern thing. People from all over the country idolize him. How can he use that more as a currency to get across messages like the responsibility of having a lot of children you can't afford, how all children must be educated? How can he use that?
Yeah, you see, I think the level of poverty and getting it resolved is an uphill task. And like you said earlier, my mom, we are both from Lagos State, for information.
Okay.
We have right now in the north all sort of insecurity happening, from cattle ranching, rustling, terrorism, kidnapping. Down south we have the area boys.
Just basic
we have
unemployment.
courtists.
Yeah.
Yes. Now the solution is, how do we generate jobs for the people? And to achieve that, that's what I'm trying to tell you, it's not only the president. There's a lot of things. For example, if you're a custom officer and you allow a product that has been banned to enter the country because of peculiar gain, you know what you are doing? You are frustrating the Nigerian who has set up the factory to produce those things, because those things are going to be dumped and made cheaper than your production cost, because here you have to provide light, you have to provide water, and so on and so on. So at the end of the day, instead of your factory expanding to create jobs, it's shrinking. But to the custom man, he is not seeing that consequence that is further compounding the problem in society, which eventually is manifesting now, because if care is not taken, the very rich, they will soon start to cry. Because you just find that, we'll be overwhelmed by poverty. And to avoid that, so I believe that President Buhari has a program which eventually is going to very soon unfold. And that program is to ensure that the rich realize that their safety is not by Buhari, but by making sure that the poor are elevated to living, not just existing. And like I said, if you look at what is going to happen, the power supply is improving, even though we can do better. But, it takes time to manifest, because these are very, very strong capital investment. The road network, look at the number of people that dies, on our roads, because trailers are being used to carry goods that shall be carried by the rail.
Mr. Muse, I'm going to jump in here and just bring Senator in to also help us. I don't want us to go too far away from the question that Tundu asked, which is, I understand that you don't want to spend time criticizing the president, but I guess what I do want to understand is, how can the president use his political currency, which Tundu has said he has this Messiah-like currency that people have accorded him. to address some of the issues you're saying, one of the things that the president has to still do is address the issue of population growth. You've said that. How does he go about doing that? The issue around education, around women's rights, around toning down ethno and religious rhetoric. How does he go about doing that, especially with this new mandate?
Unfortunately for him, it's a product of conservatism. What we are criticizing is a product of it. He has benefited from it. He grew up with it.
So he's not.
So
he's not
naturally,
able to.
if you are talking about number of children somebody must have, that is his nature. He grew up with people having 10 wives. How can you now convince him that to have many wives and children is wrong?
Wow.
Their people are not going to school. When he had the opportunity, he didn't ask them to go to school. How can he be the one that was saying, now go to school?
But his responsibility as a citizen
I'm just saying
and as
his
a leader
problem, his
must
problem.
be different.
Now he might be seeing things differently. But it's a product of that one. It's not a person that grew up with an Awolowo's ideology that you must have small family and they must be educated. That was not his background, but he can change it. But to change it, he needs a lot of radical, transformation of the Constitution. My brother talk about power. The Constitution is a feudalist document that suppresses people. You are talking about national grid. Power must be taken from Egbe down to the north to have power. How can they be reasonable? All over the world now, they have zonal grid. They have state grid. They have local government grid. So that you don't have to produce power in a small community and transfer it to 20,000 kilometers. Where in the east, you have predominance of coal. Generate your power with coal. In the north, they have sunlight. So they can do. So there can be differences of generating plant, electricity per zone. So it doesn't have to be a national grid. But it is the Constitution that you must, anywhere you produce light, it must go to the national grid. How can we develop?
I think that has been addressed.
It is a constitutional matter. You can't address it.
No.
It needs to be amended.
It needs
Yes.
to be amended.
Yes, it will be amended. It should be amended.
No.
If you don't amend it, you can say by regulation,
Yes,
by regulation.
measures
But
by
what is in the
regulation
Constitution? Look, I have been in this system for long.
Yes.
I know what happened in 1979 when Jakonde came and he introduced electricity board so that Lagos State can be generating electricity. We were taken to court that you cannot separate yourself from the national
That's
grid.
where my mind went.
That's even long ago.
Yeah.
Even during the tenure of Bola Tinubu, they
That's what-
Yeah.
It happened again.
Yeah.
We need to amend that exclusive list and concurrent list.
Yes.
It has to be looked at.
It has to be looked at.
Yes.
It is total, no matter the angelic nature of a president, the system will bog him down. Look at
Senator,
what
let me jump in here. I just want to say, so Senator, in lieu of this, what is your message to the 9th National Assembly?
that is another kettle of fish entirely. I've never seen a National Assembly like this in my life. When I was a senator, we were earning 17,000 naira per month. Let me repeat myself. The president has responsibility to curb the excesses of National Assembly in terms of revenue. How can a senator be earning 20 million every month? And you think you are running a system? I'm part of them. That's my constituency. But I cannot believe what I'm saying. I cannot. So with that level of funds available to you, who is going to talk to you and you listen? The person must bring money. And Buhari doesn't understand that aspect. So he has to use some people to persuade them. They are saying, install Lawan, install Bajabi Abila. They are the same. There is nothing a presiding officer can do. They will topple him. I have been part of the system. They will remove him. But it is the president that can call them. Look, this thing is in essence. How can we moderate it? But to believe that they are going to do internal restructuring, forget it. So Nigerian problem is complex. Go to the National Assembly. Look, people that are outside will not understand what I'm saying. You must be part of them. You must entice them to do most of these things that you are saying. And once you cannot play X role, we know what is called X factor. They will not listen. It is not magic. Bring anybody there, he will join the queue.
Sorry,
Nigeria has a great problem.
Sorry, there's something I've noticed now. I think they are placing the title, they're giving the APC chieftain in the television.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll just correct that on air. I think that Mr. Rasaq Muse was saying that he is an APC chieftain, and please correct that if that is the case. And Senator Adeseye Ogunlewe is PDP. Please correct that. Thank you. I'm sure they'll correct that. Thank you.
So there is very little hope. Okay, look for
So
instance,
that little hope. I want you to expand on
ground a
it.
little now.
Yeah,
It's good.
I like that he said a little bit of hope. You thought a little bit of
Initially, you
hope.
said there was
no
none.
hope.
what I'm saying, it is I'm pained. Okay, look at the middle class. You have to pay 300,000 naira for a child to attend primary school. What is your salary? And that is why people are moving out of this country.
And
They cannot go.
there's corruption too, because you have to cut corners to be able to do that.
Look, when they define corruption, I laugh. Corruption is part of our system. If you are not corrupt, you cannot survive in this community. There is no way you can survive with your salary. There is no way you can. How many people have legitimate income that they can survive with? When you have to pay for hospital bills, you have to pay for education of your child, how do you, which salary must you earn to pay 300,000 naira for primary school education? How much did you pay? How much did I pay? When I was in primary school, it was free at government expense. But now everything is competitive. Which hospital are you going to take your child to? And you will beg them, please, so because of corruption, don't take my child. Then you see.
Is there...
We go through it every day. A policeman will stop you on the road and ask questions that 1,000 naira will solve for you. But we don't understand it. We will pretend. Like my brother, Adeseye, say Nigeria eats 90% of the rice. America is telling you 20 million bags of rice were smuggled into your country this year alone. How can you eat 90% and 20 million bags smuggled into your country? Instead of you going after those who assisted in the smuggling, but they will bring kickback for you, you shut up. And then we say, no, Nigeria is okay. It's not okay.
So what is the solution?
It's bleak because it is not one person's solution. The thing has run almost through our system, and we need a lot of prayers to get it through. And I think Mr. President can try. But how much can he try? People surrounding him, if you read in the newspaper, they want their own family to survive too. They said the price of oil will be less than 45 naira. That's what they told him. But now it's 145, and he's paying so much as subsidy, trillions of naira. What can the man do? What you've told him is not what is happening. Is he going to fight everybody? The people that he's working with may not be totally sincere to him. But what can he do? He's a very sincere person, no doubt.
Can he find the right people? I mean, how do minister and cabinet roles help in changing the tide? Because one of the things you've talked about was brain drain, which is people leaving the country. Last week we had a minister who said that people can leave if they want to because we have too many people in the we have too many medical doctors. How do you take a look at these type of leaderships and what role do they play? Because that also plays a huge role is in what people say, what people do. So when we keep on saying that the president is sincere, we also need that sincerity to come through in his rhetoric. The only thing we know for sure is that the president is anti-corruption. But we also need to know that the president is pro this, this, and this. Pro population control. Pro education.
Passionate about education.
And passionate about education.
That.
We need to know these things. We know he's passionate about fighting corruption. how does he expand that prism of what his passions are, what he's passionate about?
Unfortunately for us, his health is not helpful. His position of health. Because you need to interact with people the more. People should not enclose you as a cabal and not allow you to listen to more people. The best administrator, the best person that can govern is person that admits over 100 people to his house on daily basis and listen to gossips, listen to rumors, listen to the one people that can tell you the truth. But if you are not accessible, because the people surrounding you will not allow them to see you. And that is, I have been there. When I say something, you know, this man is talking from experience. People will say, he's sleeping, he's resting. You cannot see him. He must have time that he must listen to people. He cannot see him. Why? The man is a public officer. He must have a time in a week. Okay, I'm going to leave Tuesday open. Anybody in Nigeria that wants to see me can come. And they will assemble in the hall. And they will raise up their hand and tell him the truth. People surrounding you may not tell you the truth. That is my experience. People that are outside, they have a lot more knowledge and how to solve problems than people surrounding you. Nigeria has abundance of well-intentioned people, well-educated, well-articulated, that can tell you the truth, but they will never allow them to see you.
Okay, we know you cannot govern from an ivory tower, but what aspects of getting that kind of person you've just described, those honest, competent, capable people, come next month when the president will dissolve this cabinet? Are we going to see what we've always seen, which is that there's a body system, a cronyist system, where you have a governor giving a list of 2 or 3 names to the president will choose one of those names based on who is in favor with the governor at the time, not who has the best intentions for Nigeria, not who has the best abilities. Is this how we're going to continue? Professional bodies can be encouraged to nominate instead of politicians. That can help, you know, Institute of Chartered Accountants, Society of Engineers, these auditors, this thing, neutral people. That can help because they have a constituency where they can listen to as accountants when they are holding their meeting, or economists, or engineers. What do we do? Then they have a reservoir of people to draw from and then influence in government. But for God's sake, don't make governors ministers. It is overkill. They are rich already. What do they want to prove? What are you going to tell them? They will just be laughing at you. The money he has in the bank is more than the budget we are talking about. So that's why my brother Ngige can talk like that now. He's talking from a vantage position. So what are you going to do? But honestly, that is not his character. I know him very well. But he has joined this, progressives to talk like that. So it's a problem for Nigeria. So as you are saying, let professional bodies have a percentage. Not too many, maybe about 25% or 30%. They will represent another interest entirely, so that we can draw, Council of Women. Women can say, okay, don't bring politicians. Bring women that have made it in the banking industry, in the engineering industry, in whatever industry. Then I'll pick him. Then she will represent women. But it is only the woman leader of a political party that will represent you as ministerial. You get what you deserve.
Actually wanted to pick up on the woman issue. I was privileged this week to be at a UN Women meeting. In that meeting, when they were doing the analysis of elected officials, female elected officials, when you look at last election and this election, the number of Nigerian elected positions for women have actually decreased by about 2%. I wanted to, from 6% to 4%, so we were really starting from a low base to begin with. I wanted to talk to someone like you who has been through the process, who has been in the system. Why is it that there is lack of female representation in elected offices?
In Rwanda, for instance, it's a legislation. Mm-hmm. In so many other countries, it's by legislation. We must get to that level.
So you believe...
There be a law
that
says, in this position, this percentage must be reserved for women. But women can never compete in an open market, political market, with men. You don't have the tenacity, you don't have the money, you don't have the bravery, you cannot tell too many lies. So you are more cultured than men. Men can say something today and say tomorrow, I made a mistake, sorry. I didn't say so. But a woman can hardly go to that level. You know, our mothers, they are not like us. But by legislation, you can address that matter. But it must be by legislation, not by open competition. In Nigeria, you don't have a chance at all. Even the small one they've given you is just like gift.
Yeah, maybe I can chip in on that. You see, the political structure itself is a hindrance to the country moving to greener pasture. Right now, you talk about women, yes, not being given, adequate share. But it transcends more than women. You know, there's a lot of talents, potential leaders who will be great, but the system frustrates them. So if the system frustrates the men, you can see, like you said, the few that even have courage from women that comes out, by the time they see, hey, what it takes. So we need to go to that foundation. How does our leaders emerge? Because these are the same people you are saying we need to amend the constitution, that you need to do this or do that. If you don't have the right person there, we ain't going nowhere. So we need to see how the leaders emerge. For example, I said to my, suggested to my party, because I know I'm a grassroots person, there are a lot of talents, people who want to serve, people who are popular in their domain, but they don't emerge as candidates because they don't have a godfather and they don't have the money. When election time comes, they say, come and pay 1 million, 2 million to get a form to fill as an aspirant. Hey. So a lot of them have been. The reason is, of course, they say they want on serious one not to partake. But then how are you able to determine the unserious? Is it because of the money? So we need to look at that aspect as the foundation. How are we producing our leaders?
You started saying, you said you suggested something to your party, so I wanted to...
Oh, yes, I am suggesting that, or suggested, that we should review the amount of money aspirants have been asked to pay, to get elected into political offices. Because the money is so much, that a lot of them who are talents, who are good...
Are you referring to nomination forms?
Yes, nomination form. That's just one aspect. Then, of course, the issue of personal interest overrides the interest of either the party or the nation. That too needs to be changed. Because at the end of the day, if my face doesn't fit in well with the leader, whether you're good or not, you prefer somebody that will be 100% loyal to you, not to the party or to the country. So there's need for that change. And until we have that, and I think we will, because right now it's becoming, the election is becoming more transparent, even though there's still a lot to do. Oh, yes. Because if you see incumbent governors being defeated, if you see governor who has been a senator before, now wants to be, is governor and now wants to be senator, has been defeated, we are making progress.
Well, that brings me to my next question as we begin to wrap up. What are the chances of PDP's candidate Atiku Abubakar at his tribunal?
Well, I would say, to start with, the election is conclusive, the victory is conclusive, and even if you go by the previous trends, for example, when we formed CPC in 2009, in fact, it got registered about 9 months to the election, the 2011 election. And the president pulled from the north about 10, 11 million votes. And if you look at the statistics to date, that was when he's not the incumbent. I mean, the party in power definitely will have made sure he has a lot of people there, you know, to police whatever is happening in the various states. He had that much. 2015, if you look at it, so it's been a regular trend. Like you said earlier on, he has these fanatical supporters.
So you believe you want fair and square?
Oh,
Senator,
I'm coming.
your
You know,
because we have to.
Yeah, we're wrapping up.
Senator, what are your thoughts?
My thought is simple. At that level, PDP shouldn't have participated in the presidential election because the result was predictable. Once Mr. President refused to sign that amendment to the Electoral Act, I lost hope, because that could have brought more transparency, more commitment, and a better result that could be proven, that it could be transmitted right from the polling station. It is unbelievable that in the present day world, we are still collating with hand. A human being and a Nigerian, for that matter, will collate properly from the ward to the registration area. That is the LGA, from LGA to the state.
Let me quickly
from the state.
on
All right.
From the state. I'm just saying it is more difficult. I'm not saying
we have to go.
Please.
Please,
Now,
one sentence. We
yes,
have to go.
You see, to bring in a more sophisticated electoral act at the tail end of a tenure and close to the election, it will bring more chaos.
It wasn't actually at the tail end.
Number one.
No,
Number
sir,
two, if you remember even the budget
That's the last word.
for the INEC, it took a long time before they got money. So doing that will have been...
All right.
Then lastly,
sir.
I want to say this is very important, that we should forget this ethnicity, that it must be my man or Yoruba man about president, it must be Igbo man about president. We should pray to say we want a president for Nigeria.
Thank you so much
so
for
that we all are part of that moving train to the dreamland.
Well, I just want to say thank you to both of you.
If we have transmitted that result electronically, just as we use ATM.
It won't be bugged.
As you use ATM, do you need time to use your ATM? How many ATM are used per hour?
The ATM still not...
I'm just saying it would have been easier and more credible.
Well, we'll test it with some small election before the next election. Oh, yes.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and thank you for being here. It's now time to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to our guest who is in Abuja. Stay with us.
Come on, take your
Thank you.